Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got 3 replays in the British Tier 8 Premium Tank Destroyer, the Terrapin Mark 1, or the unskinned version of the Diamondback. Now, if you do like the video, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe down below, as it really does help out the channel. And yes, the Terrapin, it is the level 75 reward for the brand new Season Pass, for the Gods of War Season Pass that's just come out. And what's it like as a tank? Well, as a tank, it is a slow and steady British tank destroyer, which is pretty common for the British tank destroyers, because they're all a bit slow and steady. The armor on this vehicle is really nice, up until it goes against Tier 9 and 10 premium rounds, essentially, or even against some of the standard rounds of Tier 9s and 10s, to be fair. When you're using the gun depression of the vehicle and covering the lower plate, it can be very, very effective. But yeah, it's just when you get to those 280+ rounds that tend to just start going through the superstructure a little bit, which is something that never really felt like it used to have as a problem for the original Diamondback when that came out, because the armor on this tank felt great. But since playing it to get the replays for this video, yeah, it just felt like it got butchered a little bit, which was annoying. But if you get it in the right position, the armor can be great. But like I say, even when I got it in the right position sometimes, then I'd start finding the high pen APC or heat rounds and start just destroying my superstructure, and I'd be sitting there going, oh, but this was my strength, you know? But the thing it does have is a very, very good 55-pounder gun. It's got very, very, very good DPM. And that is just something that is very lovely for the vehicle indeed. And if you can get into farmy locations, oh boy, you can farm hard. The DPM is insane, and the damage output that this thing can do is fantastic. So the Terrapin, it's got a 27.5 km/h top speed, an 11 km/h reverse speed, 700 horsepower engine, which is 11.67 horsepower per ton ratio, with that 20% internal fire chance. So if you get hit in the engine bay, yeah, it does like getting set on fire, so if you get caught sideways on, but generally frontally on, it doesn't get set on fire that often. The power to weight ratio means that it is pretty sluggish in getting to that top speed, which is a bit of pain, and the ground resistance is at 2.39, 1.38 and 1.2 on soft, medium and firm respectively. Yeah, it's not great, and it means that, yeah, the mobility on this vehicle does feel really sluggish. But we do have 27 kilometers now, like I say, with that traction system installed, but we tend to run the traction system more for the track traverse than we do the actual top speed increase. You've got 337 meters of still concealment with 373 meters of on-the-move concealment, which means generally you're going to get spotted in this vehicle. It is a brawly turretless tank destroyer, so yeah, you're not relying on your camo too much, but you could make the camo way better with the camo net instead of running the traction system if you wanted to, and you would actually get it down to a respectable level for this kind of tank destroyer, and it could be an asset. But I tend to go brawling far too often. I'm too close to the front line most of the time in this vehicle, because it's too slow if you get caught out and can't get to the front line, and the games just pass you by sometimes in the Terrapin, which is the problem for all slow tanks, right? But yeah, it can happen in the Terrapin too. So I tend to just run the traction system to get the extra top speed, and generally the extra track traverse, which is what we're aiming for, so we can get this gun turned on target as quickly as possible like this, to be able to get the shots out down range. You've got 27.58 degrees a second on the hull rotation speed, and that is with helping it out as much as humanly possible so that we can get this gun traversed in on target, because naturally we don't have a turret, so getting the tracks turned quicker is something that we always want to kind of be doing in this vehicle, so that we can get the gun going and get firing. We've got 0.51 accuracy during rotation, with a 1.76 accuracy during movement, which means, realistically, for this kind of tank destroyer, that's the worst that the aim circle's ever going to bloom out that you're seeing right there, which isn't really that bad at all. And with a 1.75 second aim time, yeah, you're aiming really, really fast, which is definitely very nice for the Terrapin Mark 1. It means you don't take too long to get this DPM flowing. And with 0.29 accuracy at 100 meters as well, it means you are super duper accurate, which is lovely. The only real thing that makes this gun feel a bit derpy at times is actually the shell velocity being pretty slow. So we've got 10 degrees of gun depression as well, which means this thing is extremely flexible on a ridgeline, and it kind of is where this vehicle wants to be. It wants to be on a ridgeline where it's covering the lower plate, only exposing the superstructure, which is showing the strongest part of the armor, and then just flowing the shots out with this 10 degrees of gun depression and the gun. And yeah, the ridge lines is where this thing can be very, very effective indeed. You've got a 4.96 second reload, which is 3.9, nearly 4k DPM, which is absolutely insane for a tier 8 tank. So nearly 4k DPM on a tier 8 tank is just utterly phenomenal, and this vehicle does just push out damage so fast. And it's one of those that is quite surprising, where you can get into a battle, feel like you take forever to get there, haven't really done much, and then all of a sudden, you look at your damage score and go, how did I get 3k damage like we did in that game you've just seen there, which was a pretty typical game for the Terrapin. But yeah, you sit there going, how did I do that? Wow, that racked up fast, you know, because you go from 0 to 100 very, very quickly because that DPM is so, so good. And also, because it is super accurate as well, it will hit most of those shots. And with 243 pen on the standard AP, 285 pen on the premium APDS, and 54 pen on the HE, you will go through most vehicles you're going to face as well. You might only really struggle with stuff like Type 5 and Mousers, with even the 285 pen on the premium APDS. And the HE, with having 430 alpha on that HE round as well, can be quite useful for making DPM even better when you're going against stuff like artillery and things like that, and just having that phenomenal damage output, really. Because you have 330 alpha on the standard AP and the APDS as well, which is that little bit higher than what you'd usually find on guns that have around 3 to 350, right? So for tier 8, the 330 is quite nice. And like I say, the one thing that does make this gun feel fairly derpy at times is the shell velocity, because, yeah, the shell velocity is actually pretty poor on this vehicle, as it has 792 meters a second shell velocity on the standard AP, and 991 meters a second shell velocity on the premium APDS, which is below average. That means you have to give a good amount of lead at distance to be able to hit your targets in this vehicle. And like I say, it can just lead to that bit of frustration when you hit the floor, just because that shell velocity is pretty poor, realistically. And that's probably one downside to the vehicle, is that shell velocity, as well as the poor mobility, naturally. So what do I run in terms of a crew and equipment on this vehicle? Well, I run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Trap Mechanic, General Mechanic, Steady Aim, Run and Gun, Clutch Braking, with the Advanced Loader, the Optics, and the Traction System. Traction System to get the better track traverse on this tank, same as the Clutch Braking, because if you actually increase the top speed of this vehicle, you still don't hit it very often anyway. So it's all about making that track traverse just way, way better on this tank, so that we can get this gun on target as fast as possible. The Steady Aim and the Run and Gun to be able to get the general accuracy of the vehicle to be as good as possible, like you want to do with every vehicle, and the accuracy during movement down as low as possible, so the aim circle isn't blooming out that much at all, so you're not having to rely on the aim time. The Advanced Load to get the best DPM out of the vehicle, and Optics to be able to actually get that 473 meters of view range, which, like I say, isn't the best view range in the universe for a vehicle at tier 8, but it's good enough that you can try and spot for yourself in it. And then we run General Mechanic and Track Mechanic, just so that the track repair speed is incredibly quick. Because yes, we have a reusable repair kit, but there's a lot of times where you might have already used it, and you have to put your tracks back on, and then you sit there and something tries to perma-track you, get around you, and start farming you. Whereas if you run General Mechanic and Track Mechanic together, your track repair speed is so incredibly quick that they cannot be perma-tracked in this tank, which is definitely an asset, so that you can get the tank turned and get the shots down on target. And that's why I run it on this vehicle generally. That said, there's plenty of other things you could run on this vehicle if you wanted to. You could drop General Mechanic for quite a few things in general, like Camouflage Expertise, and then maybe drop the Traction System for the Camouflage Net, so you have way better camo. It's really down to you and how you want to play the vehicle. So as you've seen in the second game here on Corellia, we are in the perfect spot for this tank. We can keep the superstructure exposed, keep the lower plate covered, use the 10 degrees of gun depression, and absolutely farm up in this choke point, which is what we managed to do, getting 2.6k damage. We know there's the Canonian Jagdpanzer 105 back there, and that is a tier 10 gun that is shooting at us right now. That is a tier 10 gun, and he's firing heat. So we did manage to get a blind fire in, but as you can see, the heat rounds are going straight through the superstructure on this tank. Every shot was going straight through. We're not bouncing the heat rounds, which is super frustrating, and is the general experience of the Terrapin against tier 10 guns, especially when they start to fire premium. Because that tank has the 330 alpha, the 330 heat pen that any of the tier 10 guns generally have, or a lot of the tier 9 guns as well. And that's just what happens. Your superstructure goes, aha, I've been penned. I've been penned again and again. And usually with the Terrapin or the Diamondback, it is generally 300 plus millimeters of pen that tends to start butchering it. So where you feel like you're in a very strong position, it's pure pain, and that can be super frustrating, especially for a tank like the Terrapin, which is so slow to get into position, that you feel like you've got yourself into your strongest position, but yet you still get pooed on. And that can be definitely a frustration for this vehicle, especially with just how slow it is. And it's one of those tanks that generally people will either really like, because the gun is fantastic, as long as you can get on with the shell velocity, and the DPM's amazing, and if you get into those farming locations, it just sings, and especially if you're top tier and you're not facing anything that's got really high pen guns, when you get into those strong positions, you are fantastic. But you can have the super frustrating games where things do have that, and there is a lot of tanks at tier 8 even that have premium pen of 300 plus, right? They just start to go through you, and you sit there going, why? You know, it's one of those. So on Corellia here, we've managed to get 3.5k damage with 2 kills so far. We're just trying to keep the gun flowing out towards the ARLV-39. Absolutely no idea where that shell went. I thought that should have hit, but that one goes in for 355, leaving just one tank left on the enemy team. And there it is spotted. It's the KV-85 from earlier on, just aiming it up, trying to lead the shot a bit more, put the shot down range, and finish off that tier 6 Soviet heavy tank. Securing our 3rd kill of that game. We'll finish with the victory, the top of the team, with the 4K damage, with the steel wall, the high caliber, the Confederate, the 2nd class, and the 1537 base XP. Really nice game there for the Terrapin on Corellia. So here we are in the 3rd and final replay of the video for the Terrapin, and we are going to go to the castle here on Rosani, because there's plenty of places where we can play peekaboo around a corner, we can go hull down, cover that lower plate, use the fantastic 10 degrees of gun depression that this vehicle has, and be able to just try and farm up. So you can see that we're going at about 26 to 27 kilometers an hour. Like I say, you do generally hit it eventually. It's just dependent on the terrain type. It does take you a wee while to actually get there in the Terrapin. It's one of those things that it is a very, very slow and sluggish tank. So when you are playing it, there can be games that just pass you by, because by the time you finally get yourself to the front line where the enemy and the allies are all fighting, you'll find that one side may have already dominated the other, and you either get there to sweep up, get a couple of kills, and end up with 900 damage, because this thing can farm up kills very, very quickly because of just how fast that reload is, that sub 5-second reload, that near 4k DPM, and it is 4k plus DPM if you boost with food, so you can pick up kills really quickly if there's loads of low health tanks, but you won't do much damage. Or you'll find that you'll end up racking up a fair bit of damage, but you'll just get swamped and die because they've murdered your entire team before you've managed to even get to the battle. So is the life of a very, very slow tank, right? And it is what it is for it. So yeah, you can see their team is starting to push along the BC line. There's about 4 tanks spotted up there, which means there's still 11 tanks unaccounted for, which no doubt there'll be a couple of campers at A4, A5 in TDs, because naturally that's where some TDs do go and sit, because they can go shoot our friends that might be at CD9 that get over aggressive, and also if we start poking out the castle, they'll have free shots at us as well. But there's still quite a few unaccounted for that probably will be attacking this castle as well. So we do have to be careful while poking over. I'm fully expecting to spot something, or be spotted by something, as I come over here, because we're just that slow that generally we do not get to positions first. It's not something that the Terrapin does. It's not something that the Diamondback does. But when it does get there, it can really brawl. It's kind of like the... It's probably the wrong way of putting it, because the Rogel Dawn is pretty insane and probably pretty overpowered, to be fair. The fact that it takes forever to get to the fight. It takes forever to get to the fight. But when you get there, they just start dying very, very quickly. And yeah, it does catch you out just how quickly you end up racking up damage. So we've caught out the KV-3. We're just trying to keep the shots flowing into his back end so we could try and break his engine again. We've got an M2Y that's now come up behind us, and we can just turn the gun into the M2Y, hopefully get the finish on this guy, and there we go, secure our first kill of the game up to 1777 damage. There's now the XM57 as well, which I would like to try and track and pen, which we get the first shot in to the back drive wheel and tracks him in place. He's trying to turn now to get after us. We unfortunately missed that shot into the back end so we could track him, but he's really struggling to be able to get his gun on target because he also has a non-fully traversable turret. So he had to try and turn his tracks to get into us, but because he'd backed up towards where the building was and got stuck on the building, we managed to just farm all of the hit points and secure our second kill of the game for nearly 2.7k damage. So we know there's tanks at G1, So what I'm going to do is try and poke over so that we're spotting things on the right-hand side, but then also trying to go for the guys that are at G1. As we go, we end up finding the SU-130PM, because I did fully expect to find people over here, and, well, we did. We shut down that SU-130PM, turn around for the T-32A, and then we are ready to go and get towards where the rest of the enemy team are, because there's only 6 tanks left on the enemy team. There's 3 TDs, a heavy tank, a medium tank, and the artillery. Medium tank and the 2 TDs are currently spotted, one at the back end at the A5. The artillery we're fully expecting to still be towards their cap area, because, well, you know, it's arty, they don't really generally move. So we're going to go try and cut off this medium tank, because he's currently moving into the castle, and that's the side that we want to be on. We want to be on the walled side, so that we're keeping our flank covered with the walls from any of the TDs or anything like the IC-152 that just shut down my M46 pattern career friend that was with me. It keeps us safe from any of those guns that might be unspotted at the back. So you can see we poke out around the corner, get detected, so I decide, okay, you know what, I'm just going to try and bait a shot but keep myself safe. Now we're unspotted, we can go after this ISU-152. And you can see the way that the shell loops, yeah, that's just the shell velocity being that poor. It can be really, really annoying with how slow the shell velocity is with the gun just derping out shots at times. But the Crusader SP gets spotted, so we put a shot into the Crusader SP as well. The Black Prince gets spotted now, who is still at the back somewhere. So we're just going to, with this guy out in the open, this is the perfect opportunity to just work the DPM on this vehicle. There's not much this guy can do, and we managed to get 3 shots into him before anyone else managed to get another shot in. And we're up to 6.2k damage with 263 assistance damage. Now going to move up to see if we can find a shot into the TD, who does get spotted. That was the reason I was coming up onto this little ledge, so that I had perfect overwatch of that entire A-line. But we didn't need it in the end, as he does end up getting shut down. And we're finished with the victory here. 4 kills, the 6.2k damage, 263 assistance damage, the ace tank at the high caliber, with that 2.1, nearly 2.2k basic XP. A fantastic game there for the Terrapin Mark 1, which is the same tank as the Diamondback, but it is a vehicle that you will be getting in the Season Pass at level 75 if you've bought the 2k pass. It's a pretty damn solid turretless tank destroyer. It just has problems that, yeah, like I say, you feel like you're a god, and then some games you really don't, because 300 plus pen rounds just destroy your armor, which can be frustrating, but there you go. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.
A great success!